where were you last week?
So last week, I had the privilege of attending Dell Technologies World, which was the first for me live trade show since the pandemic began. Pretty exciting time.
What was your big takeaway from Dell Tech World?
Dell Technologies World this year began with several strong themes from Michael Dell's keynote. One of them was just thank you, gratitude, which I think personally is perhaps the most important lesson of the pandemic, how grateful all of us should be to have made it through, all of us who have, grateful for the people who made it possible for us to get it through, grateful to be able to work in technology, and grateful for all the clients who have supported us. And those were themes that Michael Dell really evoked strongly in his opener. He also thanked people particularly for trust. And the theme of trust carried into a lot of areas, crucially into security, which seems like an odd segue, but when you put your data in a system somewhere, you are trusting your data to that system. In this era of heavy ransomware attacks, hackers everywhere, hackers being involved in military actions like Russia's war on Ukraine, all of these events, the world is full of security risks. And Dell Technologies sells a lot of solutions there to help out with security of data. So he talked about trust. He talked about different ways, people trusting them with their business, people trusting them with their data. He also talked heavily, and this was a theme that went on, about partnership. I think that it's clear to anybody who looks around that we're in a deeply interconnected world, that we all depend on each other. We depend on people we don't see. We depend on sources we don't know or understand for information, for our food, for everything. And Dell this year really accented their partnership with other suppliers, but with their clients as well. So those, I think, were some of the biggest themes of the show. And then, of course, just excitement. Everybody there was excited to be back together. There was almost, among some people, an almost giddy feel. And they were just happy to be around people. Now, some of that's self-selecting. That audience was full of people who work in, not just in technology, but in the sales and marketing side. So there were a lot of people by personality pre-selected to be around other people as part of their job. But even the most technical people I spoke with were just excited to be around other people again in a big group. It was just a cool moment.
What do you think are the challenges that we're facing with evolving technology?
So in today's tech world, there are many different challenges that we all face. Some of them are simply finding ways to connect in what will clearly be a tech-connected future. No one I spoke to felt that their company was going to have everybody back in the office same as in the past. We at PT have adopted a permanent hybrid model. Different companies are in different places on that spectrum. Some, I think, are trying to get everybody back, but everybody accepts that the pandemic has taught us that we can work differently, and many people want to work differently. So we have to recognize that for our technology to be that integrated into our work lives, we have to address a set of issues at a personal level that companies would think about on a bigger level. We have to address security. You're on a call. Do you want it recorded accidentally? Do you want somebody to be able to record without you knowing? Do you want somebody to be able to take your picture without it? You don't. You want basic privacy concerns, just as if you're in a room with somebody and they hold up a camera and you go, really, I don't like my picture taken. You have to worry about your data that you're sharing. You put something in the chat window. Did that go somewhere? You have to worry about the contents of your laptop. Do you want somebody to come onto your laptop and steal it? And this extends all the way through the enterprise. But also there was some conversation, and probably not enough, because I don't think there can be enough yet, just personally, but about how equitable this future is. As we evolve technologies, how do we not leave behind the people who cannot afford the latest and greatest? As we build futures based increasingly on AI-based systems, and that is something that is happening everywhere, AI being used to help out with all manner of technologies, how do we make sure that the algorithms that we're using, that we're counting on, that we're betting our future on, are fair, are just, are bias-free may even be too far a goal because it's hard to define, but are minimally biased and that are representative of all people, that are inclusive. These are all challenges that we have to face as we grow technology. And also, finally, this is a subset of what I talked about before, but it is a crucial thing. Many people in the world today do not have access to the kind of technology that we take for granted. We have our laptops, we have our cell phones, we have tablets, many of us, we have Kindles, we have all sorts of technology. Meanwhile, there are hundreds of millions of people living below the poverty line around the planet. There are people who have technology that would be laughably old if you brought it to work. These people are fellow humans we have to work with, and they represent selfishly for companies a market that we want to sell to, but we have to help all of those people, in my opinion, with technology as we go forward. And I guess I should mention something that got side commentary, but was definitely recurs in every event I attend. I attended TED a while back, and this was a huge thing there, and that is climate change. Sustainability was a watchword at this Dell Technologies World. It was something where people came up and they talked about how sustainable is this laptop? What percentage of these are ingredients that we can recycle? How much are we taking back from it? These issues all matter. They are bigger issues than the tech industry. They are human-wide issues, and they definitely are issues that technology has the potential to help in and has the potential to hurt in.
Can you give me a little soundbite about what's coming down the pike and how that will affect our business and personal lives?
So one of the things that you get out of a trade show like this is you get a sneak peek at what's coming. And you get varying degrees depending on product cycles. But what is clearly coming are tools and technologies that are really going to help touch our daily lives. The laptops are evolving in intriguing ways. One of the demos that Jeff Clark did during his keynote was to walk up next to a laptop that a guy was showing. So the guy is at the laptop, he's standing there pretending to use it. It is a live laptop, and they have the screen broadcast on the screens. We're all watching. Jeff Clark walks over to his shoulder, and as soon as the laptop detects him there, it says observer, and it blanks the screen, which is really cool, right? It's a security thing. It's a blanking thing. And this is actually a kind of technology that's going to be coming to lots and lots of laptops. We have gaming and metaverse considerations that people are talking about all over technology. And so I think we will see all of those coming at us. And of course, more and more AI, more and more data being collected, huge conversations around what do you feel about your data? There is an interesting keynote. The last one was actually less a keynote, more a panel discussion among several different people. And one of the panelists, who was the whistleblower for Cambridge Analytica, pointed out that there is this assumption right now that your data, the data about you, about where you go on websites, all of those things, is just a thing that anybody can harvest, right? So if you're browsing along and you click on different links, all sorts of observers are taking that data and selling that data and sharing it. There's another argument to be made, and I don't want to get into the politics, so I won't go where mine goes, but there's an argument to be made that that trail of you in life is in fact you. There's an argument to be made that that is part of you as a person online and in the real world. And if that is part of you, should you not own that? Should you not have control over that? And so that is a discussion that is going to be coming, I believe, more and more. And we're seeing this with the EU's regulations. We're seeing this with conversations here in the US. We're seeing this with changes in the browsers, some of Apple's policies. What controls do we get over our online selves? And what do people simply take because it is profitable for them to take it? Companies take. And these are going to be very challenging, intricate conversations that require a great deal of thought.
Can you tell me about any success stories you've heard about with of technology or something that's happened in the last 2 years that you found that was different than you expected?
One of the topics that was clear at this show was how for a large segment of at least American society, and I think more broadly large segments of the world, technology really did come to the rescue over the last 2 years over the pandemic. Think about the number of companies that in March of 2020 went, we're working from home. Think about how hard that was for them. And yet they made that transition. That was very tech-enabled. That was a success story, but again, a success story with a richer context. I think that one of the things that people are now realizing, even at these larger events, is that even as we celebrate our successes in technology, we must also have richer conversations about what we did not succeed at, about the people that did not have these enabling technologies, the healthcare providers and firefighters and police people and grocery delivery people and people working in restaurants who were showing up physically in a dangerous environment and doing work every day. People who were, in America, disproportionately people of color. There are a lot of nuances here to any success, and it is clear we need to make these successes broader. But certainly the pandemic taught us that technology can help a great many of us have better lives in very trying times.
So let's go very PT focused and say, where does PT fit into all of this technology, this advanced everything?
One of the cool experiences we were privileged enough to have at Dell Technologies World were interactions with clients where we got to hear from client after client talking about how much PT's work had helped them reach their target audiences, reach their buyers. We had multiple meetings where people talked about how effective the PT collateral was, how much it had helped them sell, and that is what we're trying to do. We started PT with this really simple idea that the best way to sell products was to tell the truth. That is still a core principle of PT. And so we were able to hear story after story of successes there, and it was very gratifying. But we also had several gatherings where we were able to go and express our gratitude toward our clients for letting us work with them. It is also built into our DNA as a company. It's in our existence statement. We exist to do great work for our clients and to be a great place to work for our staff. That's key to who we are. Gratitude, therefore, flows from that directly and is key to who we are as a company are. And again, to me, it is one of the most important themes of this conference of the last few years and what I think we should all carry going forward.
Can you recap Dell Tech World in a nutshell?
Dell Technologies World was in many ways a celebration. It was a celebration of being able to be back together for the first live trade show for Dell Technologies, at least, in a couple years. It was a celebration of how much technology has helped, and it was a celebration of all the people who had made that possible for Dell Technologies, all the partners, all the customers, all of their suppliers. So in many ways, it was a big thank you, and then, of course, the peek at what's coming next.
How do you think PT has changed in the 2 years of the pandemic, and what do you think PT brings to businesses that we were not able to bring before, or helps them to make their business better?
Over the last 2 years of the pandemic, I think PT has at its core mission largely remained the same. We offer the same great services. I think we've been able to do that despite different work styles, despite pivoting to primarily from home, many people from home virtually all the time. I do think during that time we've grown our skill sets, we've expanded in new areas, we do more cloud testing now by far than we were doing before. But I don't think as a company our core has changed through the pandemic. I think we have just found new ways to work, and I think we are all still, at least the people I talk to at PT, we're still struggling somewhat with that balance of being apart physically, finding the right ways to collaborate, finding the moments of serendipity that would happen in an office that are more difficult to happen in an electronic environment. And like all businesses, I think we are still finding paths forward there to improve.
Can you do one more time for me, just a quick, just to make sure we have a couple of options of where were you last week?
So last week I was in Las Vegas for the first Dell Technologies World since the pandemic began, the first live one. There have been virtual ones. I joined about 6,000 other people at the conference center off the Venetian Hotel, and went to meetings, went to events, had meetings in the hall, had meals, and just generally shared in-person time with a ton of other people.
You talked about how our collateral was seen.
So we had multiple meetings with clients where we were able to hear how they'd been able to use our technologies, our work, our collateral to help in their work, to help sell. People were very grateful for that, talked about how effective it was. And even in one of the breakout sessions, one of the speakers was actually multiple times referring to our collateral and introduced Sean as somebody from Principal Technologies to just say a few words about that study.